response. Okay, yes. Before starting this today's agenda, so let's try to recollect it, what we had it yesterday, and then we continue to this today's agenda. Yeah, yesterday which we are understanding, especially nested if else block. Yes, how do we define that nested if else block in Python program? Yeah, so as we know that like already if condition, how do we define that? If and then condition, then colon is that starting block, and with indentation we can define the statements. Yeah, it must be like at least 2 spaces. But if you have those like 4 spaces, that's a good representation. Yeah, if you block, if this is a true, these statements will be executed. In case this condition is false, then it comes to that else block. But again, in that else also, if you would like to define that condition, then we can use it else if, then condition, then that condition related statements with indentation. So like this, we can define that the multiple if else blocks. That is, we say that nested if else. Yeah, so this was the thing which we are trying to understand, and with the different use cases, that's we are trying to understand that. Yeah, indentation point of view, and as well as yeah, taking the input and the input mapping with that like a particular string. So not equals we can use it, or equals we can use it. That's the condition. But you need to make sure that they're arranging the proper order of the statements. Yeah, then this is like a condition with the the multiple condition joining. Yes, this is joining of the multiple conditions. So here this is one condition, and or we can use it, and another condition, like that we can join multiple conditions. Yeah, there are the different scenarios which we are trying to understand. And finally, one more important point, as we are understanding that important keywords in the logical operators, not, and, or. Yeah, if we define the statements like this in the condition block, then the first is going to give the priority to the not of this statement. And once it has been executed, then it is going to give the priority to that and, then it is going to give the priority to that or. Yeah, the priority understanding is also very, very important. Yeah, finally, one more point which we are trying to understand, how do we swap the values? So swapping the values, normally we can use a temporary variable taking that, and one of the variable assigning to that, and second variable, yes, assigning to the first one, then that second variable assigning this with the temporary. But what is that option which we have the says in the Python, we can use it swap option. Simple, if we just define the first comma second equal to second comma first, automatically it will be swapped. Yeah, these are all some points which we're trying to understand that on that control flow, especially that is a condition based statements, how do we implement it? Is it clear the points? So any queries, questions, please let me know before moving to this next concept that is about iterations. Yeah, have you done the practice? Just type this in the chat window, how it's helping that, and are you going through this all these practices or not? Okay. Good, good. What about others? So how is that? I mean, that like understanding the program. So is it helping that? Are you improving it? Because if you would like to understand that next concepts, whatever we are going to talk at that, yeah, that is about either infra level code or API level code. So if you have this good on these statements, then you will be good to understand this next level of the program. But if you do this more practice here, that gives us more strengths. Okay, good, good. Thank you. So let me continue to this today. There's like one more the new concept that is already, if you have this the programming background, you know that the importance of the iterations. But what about that iteration and how that's going to helping that? Let's see. So first I'm going to take that the for loop. But what is this for loop? So don't worry about it. Yeah, suppose let's talk the scenario. I would like to, I mean, as we know that like a collection of the data types which are performed. Suppose like yesterday, if I go for that, any one of the example. Okay, let me copy this list. The top cities. Okay. So I would like to print each each city in this list. How do you do that normally? Can you give me the print statement for it? The first I would like to print the Mumbai and then the Bangalore, Chennai. Yes, all the items in this list I would like to print it. How do you print it? Can you give me that any one statement? Print statement for this? Print top cities. Okay, if I give the top cities like this, and if I run this program, it is going to just print like as a list. But I need to print items in the list. Okay, someone is saying that slicing, yes, 0:5. Okay, good. So if I use this option, so here also what it is doing, it is printing this in the list concept. But I need that item, not the list. So normally how do you give that? So top cities of the 0, right? Then it is going to give that Mumbai. Okay, like that what I need to do? I need to go for that, getting that each item of this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So like this has a number of elements or items in that. I need to use it this array index number and one by one printing that. Right? So what we are trying to do that. So here if you just observe that print is the same statement. And I am taking the list from here. From the list, I would like to print it. That means it is same statement. I need to repeat it as a number of items which we have in this list, right? I got my point. Same statement. Yes, this is a print statement. Same statement, we are repeating that number of times. What is this number of times? As a length of this list. So suppose if we add that one more city, then I need to add it one more print statement. Or if I remove that one item from this list, then I need to remove that one print statement. So same statement iterating that iterating that number of times as the list of elements, as a number of list of elements. Are you clear about this? But instead of doing that, the same statement repeating that number of times, like the suppose if I have 100 statements, are you going to define that print like this 100 times? So what is that approach that we have that? What we can do? So we can use it. That's we are talking that iteration. So same block of the statement, if you would like to execute it or if you would like to run that number of times or on the base of the condition is has met, then we need to execute it. Then what we can do is we can think it of it. Iterations, or we say that in the programming loops also. But what are the different iterations are available in the Python is we can use it for loop. This is one type of, and second one is while loop. These are the two types of the loops which we can use it. When do we use the loop? Same statement, same block of the statements. If you would like to execute it a number of times, then we can go ahead and use that iteration mechanism. That is about for loop and while loop. Okay, first we go for this understanding the for loop, then we'll come back to the while loop. Yeah, now instead of doing that number of times about the print statement, print like this, how I can get it that list of all the items by iterating that one by one using that for loop. First, we'll try to understand with the for loop. Yeah, so what is the syntax? First, let's try to understand that, the for loop syntax. So how to define the for loop? So this is the structure. So normally in the programming, like a C program or Java program, if you have this idea. So here we define that the for loop and the condition, and then we use a curly braces, starting block and ending block. And here we define the statements which are required to execute it number of times. This is a normal programming approach. But here, the Python, how do we use it is the for, and here you can define the variable, and then you can use it that in, here if you just see this like a red color, what are like keywords which are showing, they're all the inbuilt keywords of the Python. Here for is an inbuilt and in is an inbuilt. Yeah, for variable in. Now I need to get that the each item. Yes. So this is the list I'm going to use it. Yes, I'm going to get it each item from this list. That is the meaning of that. So what it is going to do that the for loop is. So you need to at least one item, right? If you're going to iterating is nothing but at least one time. Suppose if I would like to print one statement, I don't need to go for the for loop. I can directly define the print statement, but I need that two or more than two. So for loop, what it is going to do internally is, so this is kind of like a number of times. You are going to define that number of times, but how you are going to define the number of times? How many times this loop has to be iterated? How you are going to define is? So now we are defined that the list here, what is the length of this list here? So what is the length of list here? 4 or 5? Yeah, that is a 5. Number of items, that is a 5. So now this meaning to the for loop is, what we are going to say that is, this is my list of all elements. As a number of elements which we have, that the number of times iterate it. Simple. If the list contains that's 2 times it will be iterated. If the list length is 10 times this for loop will be iterated. If the list contains the 1,000 times this for loop will be iterated. So here we need to define that number of items. It is kind of like, we can say, range. Range, we say that, or the length of that, how many times that do you want to iterate it, length you can specify that. So are you getting the point of it? So this is that like actual syntax for variable in the list we have defined. But how do we define the starting block of the for loop is colon. Even that, like if else block also we are using the colon, same thing. So this is the block of the statement. Now, so as we are understanding that indentation is going to play important role, yes, we need to use the indentation. So instead of using the starting block, but in the for loop, what are the statements you are going to define, that we need to use the indentation. So here, what do you want to do that? Now, what we would like to do? Would like to print. But what do you want to print it? So here, if you observe that, we are using that one variable here in the for loop. Okay, for, I mean, what is the syntax here? For, yeah, like maybe if you just read the documentation, yeah, so here you see that's the for I in range and a print I. So here you can use it any name. So here we are using that variable, but in the example it is showing that I. That means this is about our variable name. So what the for loop is going to do, that is from this list, first what is the value we have is, let me define this statement here, easily we can understand it. Yeah, the first what it is going to do this is the Mumbai, from this list it is going to take it and it is going to assign to this variable. And now this variable you can use it within the for loop. So this variable, like now, I mean, instead of saying there's a where also you can say, suppose if I try to say that where, now if I save it, if I run this program, what's going to happen that? So the for loop, it is going to use it iterator mechanism internally. The interpreter is going to use that iterator mechanism. So whatever that collection object we have defined, either that is list or tuple or whatever it is, doesn't matter, that here we are using the list. Iterator, what it is doing is, okay, it is going to take this from this list and first item is going to take it and it is going to assign to this variable, and that variable we are going to print it. First Mumbai will be taken to this variable and that will be, this statement will be executed. Then in the next iteration, second item, that is Bangalore, will be taken and which will be assigned to this variable, and that's we are trying to use it that in the print statement. And once it is done, next iteration, so Chennai state is going to take it and it is going to assign to the variable, and that's we are trying to use the print like that until end of all the items. It is going to iterating that. But temporarily, the item where it is, I mean, how you can get it, this item is, you can, I mean, that iterator is going to taking this item and it is going to assign to the variable. This variable, you can use it within about your for loop. Do you want to print it or do you want to use it for other purposes, which you can do that. Suppose if I run this program, so what's going to happen that? Yes, we got it like a list of all items. So here we were using that 5 lines of the statement, but here you see there's 2 lines of the statement. If the list contains 100 also doesn't matter, that the same 2 lines enough. If I add it to something, the Pune, and if I just run this, yes, Pune also has been printed. So Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Pune. So here, where this item? So how the iterator, for iterator, so how it is helping us is, so this the collection of object, whatever you have mentioned, from that item it is taken that it is going to assign to this variable. Suppose we have used where, but where is not the proper name, right? So like, let me use it, city name. You can define, this is like how we are defining the variable names. Yes, you can define this variable name. So now that's variable like city name, you can use it within the for loop statements. Now what's happening that first city Mumbai which will be assigned and we are trying to print it. Second iteration Bangalore is going to take it, this item from this collection object and it will be assigned and that will be printed here. Like that, it is going to iterate it as a number of items which we have in this list. Is it clear about that? The for loop, how it is going to working in that? How understand the syntax? So for variable, and now before I have changed that the where, I mean before it was where, now I have changed it to the city name, but there is no difference at all in the output. But suppose instead of this top cities, if I say that something only cities, is it going to work it? Is it going to work it? No, right? Why? So this list name must be matched here. You should not change this. But iterator, whatever the value it is returning, that value we are going to assign to this variable. It is like, suppose if you just observe that. So what is the meaning of this one is, so city name is equal to top cities of some like iterator, it is going to use it, right? Automatic iterating that from starting 0 to n-1. That is taken by that iterator internal. So internally, this statement is executing whenever we are running this program. That is automatically taken care by that for loop. Is it clear about this? The for loop syntax. Now, once this, like a city name, once it is available, you can use it like within that statement. Okay, print city, and if you'd like to concatenate something statement, can I do that multiple statements in the for loop? Can I write it? Yes, we can define that. Suppose we are getting that city name over here. Okay, that variable, I would like to define that some custom statement. What is the custom statement? So city name, that is Mumbai, is metropolitan city in India. What is this? Okay, so that's fine. So metropolitan city in India. So now what's going to happen that? So now I'm doing that. So like whatever the item that is returning that, on that item, I'm trying to perform that some statement execution. That means I'm customizing that. So before I was trying to just printing that, but now if I go for that, what's going to happen? That's now, can you expect that? So anyway, that is, as we are talking about it, city name, we are getting that in each iteration. That city name, we are concatenating with the custom message. Yes, once this variable is available, you can use that variable value within the for loop as the business logic required. So now if I run this one, so what's happened that? Why it is not printed? Only it is trying to print that like items names only, but we are trying to do that concatenation. So why it is not printed? Yes. So actually, this one we need to print it, right? Statement we need to define that. So if I execute this, yes, now we see that yes, Mumbai is metropolitan. Oh, sorry. City in India. Okay. And yes, like a Bangalore and all that. So that's going to try to print that. The same. I mean, that is what is the main concept here is once this variable is available, that variable value, you can use it in your business logic and you can try to the getting about that, the values of it. So is it clear about this? And even suppose if I try to change this list to that, now what is this data type? Now what is this data type? Tuple. Can I use this tuple also like this? Or is it going to throw the error? Now is it going to throw the error or is it fine? Suppose if I try to execute this, if I run this program, yes, we don't see there's any error. So whether that is a tuple or a list, doesn't matter that. So that's like iterator is going to try to get that. I mean, we know that the difference list and tuple both are going to work it on the index number, right? But main difference list and tuple is list you can change it, but tuple is immutable. List is mutable and tuple is immutable. Other than this, like a remaining accessing point of view, reading point of view, both are going to work like as a, on the index number based. So there is no difference at all whenever you are using that either that is a tuple or list. Suppose now I would like to print that here the some statement like as one dot. That means like would like to use it the number based the list, right? I would like to first city is Mumbai, second dot that is like Bangalore, third Chennai, fourth Delhi, five Hyderabad. Like this, we need to print it. How do I print that? Now before that, I need to. I mean, now this is the like the loop which we have. Before that, what I need to do? I need to add it something like this. How do I add this statement? Yeah, one. If it the city, first city is the one, second city, then two, third city, three. Like that, we need to go for that, adding that index number over here. So how do you do that? How do you get it that? How do you implement that? Yes, we can take this one temporary variable, counter. Counter is equal to, yes, let's start with that. The one, yes, we would like to print from the one. Then I can use this counter here, right? Counter variable plus, then I need to have that dot space, then city name, and that city is a metropolitan city in India. Then here the counter, whatever I have taken that, what's going to happen that if I try to run this? What do we need to do that? If I execute, what's going to happen that? Can you guess it? We have defined that variable count equal to 1 dot. What's going to happen that's now? Yeah, it will print one for all, because whatever you are initializing here, same value that you are trying to use it as a number of times it has been iterated, right? So if I execute this, it is saying that error. Awesome. Yes, that is expected. What is that error? Can you guess that error? What is that error? Can you understand that error? Yeah, unsupported operand type for plus. Here actually we are using that this is integer, but here we have defined that string. Integer with a string concatenation. Is it going to work it? You cannot. What we need to do? We need to convert this into the string format, right? Data type conversion. Yeah, counter is equal to integer actually. That integer we are going to converting into that string format. Yeah, let me run this. Yeah, now we got it. We don't have any errors. But what did he say in the system? It is trying to print that only one always. But what I need to do here? We need to increment it, right? Now we are talking about it. Increment. Yes, we need to increment this. So by default, initially we got that one value. But next iteration, it has to become the second. The third iteration, it has to assign this counter variable equal to 3. In the next iteration, the 4. So how do we assign the value? Yes, counter is equal to counter plus 1. So this way we can define it. So counter initially is the 1. So after printing the 1, 1 plus 1, so that is a 2. And it is going to try to print the statement. And after that, like it is going to take this next item into the city. And here, yes, the counter will be concatenated to this string. After concatenation has been done, then again it will be incremented. So it will be iterated until that the loop ends, right? Until the loop ends. Now you see that we got a good result, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So here you can use it, the counter equal to that variable plus 1. This one we say that increment. As we are understanding that already, if you remember that in arithmetic operators, we can write it in the short format. Counter plus or equal to 1 also. So indirectly, what is the meaning of this one is, this is the meaning of counter equal to counter plus 1. That is, interpreter is going to take that internally. The same output, it is not going to changing, but either you can use it this statement or you can use it this statement. No issues on that. Yeah, is it clear about that understanding? How do we use it, customizing that? Once that's a variable, we got it from the list. How do we use it, that list within the for loop? Dot is just I'm appending that dot in the after that. That is kind of the list to define it. I just use the dot as a list of all items. If I don't use the dot, then it is 1, Mumbai is metropolitan 2, like that. But as a list of all items to see that clearly, I'm using that dot. Can't we change the above? counter equal to 1 below top cities. Okay. You are saying that this statement counter equal to 1, where do you want to define it? Within the for loop? If I define that within the for loop, each time it is going to reassigning this, right? Now, if I define like this, what's going to happen? That instead of defining that above, if I define this counter variable within the for loop, what's going to happen? That each iteration, the counter equal to 1. It doesn't change any value. You see that? Because whenever it comes to the entering into that loop, again, it is going to initially counter equal to 1. Then counter, what is the value now we have? 1, it is going to concatenating to this statement. Then here it is incrementing that, but already statement we have defined, the statement is trying to printing that. Is it clear? No, here we should not define that. Next one is, let me talk with that. As we're talking about it, these are all like as a number of list of all items it is going to try to printing. Now this is so far we understand that on list and tuple, right? So far which we discussed, example on list, how do you get that list of all items? Sorry for that. Yes, how to get the list of all the items and how do we print it that? That's we are trying to understand that. But next option, what do we have to see is, let me go ahead and use this suppose a string if I use it. Okay, let me use it that greeting some message. Hello. Welcome to RNS. Some message. Now, how does a string is going to manage that internal characters? Can you give me that? So now this is a string if I like to use it for variable in greeting. And if I try to print this variable, what is the value that contains in this variable? Now this is the string which I have declared. And I am trying to use it that as the greeting the variable as iterator. I'm trying to iterating this. And in the each iteration, whatever it is returning that, the value that's we are going to assign to this variable, and that variable we are trying to use it or printing that in the for loop. Now, what is the value that contains in the variable? So for two data types which we discussed, now we are going to talk it that one more data type, that is a string. But whenever you apply that on the string data type, what's going to happen that here? Let's run that. I didn't see there's anyone giving that answer. So here sequence of the characters, right? What is the string? How it is going to manage that internally? As we are understanding that this is the H is that 0th index number, E is that 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes or no? String is that sequence of the characters or not? Can we say this is the list or not internally? So whenever we are trying to use this string in the for loop, what it is going to do that is, this is going to iterating that each character. Yes, so what it is going to return that? Character of the string. All right. Are you getting the point of it? Yes, you see this now here, HELLO exclamatory, then space, then the welcome, then space, two space, RNS, like that, all the sequence of the characters we got it. So if it is a list or a tuple, it is getting that each item and it is iterating that. Or if it is a string, if we use it, each character it is getting that and it is iterating that. Are you clear about that? But integer, float, and those data types also we were understanding. But integer is a single, right? Integer, float, boolean, either true or false. These are all single item. But collection of the data objects, if data types, if you remember that, string, yes, collection of the characters. List, collection of items. Tuple, collection of items. Dictionary, that is also collection of items. Yeah, on these collection of items which we can perform that iteration operations. Are you clear about this? So now let me define that. So how do you work with that? With the for loop, dictionary also. We have the dictionary concept, right? This is on the string. How do you define the dictionary? How do you define the dictionary? Yeah, with the curly braces. Yes. Now, so dictionary, what is the format? How do you define that elements in the dictionary? How do you define the elements in the dictionary? That is key and value representation. Yeah. Suppose users and their salary I would like to define. Suppose let's take it. This is something a user and his salary is something 20K. Let me define that. So 20K. And next B is that some user and his salary is something 35K. Like that. Next, let me define that some dummy data and his salary is something 50K. Now here we are using that string data type as a key and integer is the value. Just remember that point also. How do we separate it one item to another item? Comma. And here this is the key and this is the value. Like that, if I go for this D and his salary is something 15K. So like this, we have the user's information in the dictionary. Now, how do I print that? Normally, how do you print it? How do you read that values of this B user? We were talking that whenever read operation, particular user, we are talking that. But now I need to get it all the users. All the users. Now we are talking that all. But before, whenever we are talking that operations with the dictionary, we were talking about it only particular item, how to get it. Particular item, how to get it. I can use that, the print statement, and within the print, users of, then I can pass the key, right? Suppose I need that B, I can say that, then I will get that the value. Yeah, what is the B's salary? 35,000. So this is a specific key to get it, which we can use it. But I need to get that all the users or all the users' salary. So here we have the keys. Keys is that name of the users. And that user is having that. The value is the salary of it. Yeah, how do I use it this in the for loop? So this is single item to get it. We know that the print with the key based, but for loop, suppose if I say that the for, I'm just using that way. Where is that the variable? In what is that a collection object? Users. So in the users, whatever the item we have, that item I'm trying to get in here. Now I would like to print this variable. Now what is the value we are expecting here? So what is the variable? What is the value we are trying to get in that? Can you guess that? Can you get that what we are going to have it in the variable and what it is going to printing now? Is it going to print that the names or is it going to print that the salaries or is it going to print that A colon, I mean that is one item. So this is one item, right? And this is another item. So how it is going to getting that? Yeah, let's run this. It is going to get that by default keys. A, B, C, D, we got it. That means whenever we are trying to apply this on the dictionary, if it is the list item, it is getting that. Or tuple, it is getting that item. Or string, if you apply that, yes, it is getting the character. But if I use the dictionary, so here it is getting that this variable, instead of saying that where, now I can say that name, right? Before itself, I would have defined that as a name, but if I define this, then you understand it. That's why I just use that the generic variable. But now what it is returning that actually? Names it is returning that, name of the user. Are you clear about that? Dictionary, what it is going to do? On the dictionary, if you apply this for loop, by default, it is returning the keys. But here in this dictionary, we have used keys, name of the user. But a dictionary is having some functions. Let's try to, try to find that some functions in the dictionary. So one of the function is, let's try, we know already about it, a pop function. Pop is to delete it. Clear is to delete all the items. That means emptying the dictionary and updating that the dictionary. Yes, keys to get it. The items, and we have the values. Yeah, there are the different functions we have that. But let me try to work with that items. As we are working with that iterations, let me try to use it items function. Dot items. Now what is it is going to return that? Yeah, items function is going to return that each item of the dictionary. You see that? Yes, it is written that the complete the item. Yeah, this is the complete item. But in which format it is written that? Now let me just what about your reference? Let me keep that multiples. Suppose if I just use it to dictionary, by default, what it is written in that here? Name is written, key is written that. But in this dictionary, we stored that as a key, as a name. That's why I just use the variable name as a name. Okay, this is one thing which we got it. Next one, we are trying to understand that getting that item, entire item itself. I don't want to get the key, but I need to get that list of all the items. But how the items are storing within the dictionary? It is in the format of the tuple. And now we can say that instead of the name, mouse is need to change it. Yeah, so what it is going to return now? Item, it is returning that, right? Item, it is returning that. Are you clear about these points? Yes, now it is returning that item. But what is this type of that item? What is the type of this item? This is about the tuple. Yes, you see that is a tuple. Yeah, fine now. So the next, now if you'd like to get the key directly, you can use it. Dictionary name, key, it is returning that. But if you'd like to get it, that's the item. Yes, you can use it. The dot items is the function which is available from the dictionary to get that list of all the items. So each item it is going to return that or assigning to this variable. And this variable now contains this item in the format of the tuple. But once the tuple is available, okay, this is about item. Okay, I'll come back to this. So let me just comment this line. Now I need to get the values. Salary, I would like to get it. So we are trying to get that key. We are trying to get that enter item. Now I need to get that salary of the employee. Can you guess that? The which function we can use it? No, I'm not talking about the data type. The which function? Yeah, if you'd like to get that only the values, as we're talking that values is the function. Now, if I try to run this program, yes, now you see that we got it only the salaries. So what is the best name or suggested name is salary. As we're talking that this variable name, that's we can customize it as per about our convenience. Yeah, so here it is returning that like the keys, and here it is returning that items, and here it is returning that the values of the dictionary. Are you clear about that? How do you work with the dictionary in the iteration? String is written in the characters, sequence of the characters. List tuple, items it is returning that. But in the dictionary, by default, it returns that keys, but you can get that items or you can get the values. Are you following the point? Type that CLR in the chat window if you're following this, all these. Because these are all, if you understand more, sorry, what's that? If you understand more examples, that's more the helpful. Because the next, whatever the programs we are going to talk about, all those programs, whenever I just use that examples, you should understand that the for loop, what it is going to return that, or like if it is the collection object, what it is going to, if the collection data type is something string, what it is returning that, or if it is a list or a tuple or a dictionary. Dictionary by default, it is returning the key, but you can get that items or you can get that values. Or even we can use it directly the keys function also. We have the keys function also. So it is going to return that now, the key. Yes, now we got it all the keys. Yeah, there are like a different the important functions which are available within the dictionary. Items, values, keys. But particular the key, if you'd like to get it, you can use that as an index, the key-based index. Okay, now let's move into some more operations on the dictionary. What are those operations? Suppose whenever we are using this items function, what it is written in the items function? So what you are going to get it here? What is that output? Type it quickly in the chart window. Yeah, tuple we are going to get it, right? Yes. So it is written in the tuple. Fine. Good. But from the tuple, can I get that values? Now this is the tuple which is returned. Okay, A is that, yes, that's one item, and that's like salary is another item. Now these are all the two items in this tuple. Two items in this tuple. This is not the key and value based. There are like list of all the items. Two items we have in this tuple, and in this tuple two items, in this tuple two items, in this tuple two items. Fine. I need to get that the names from this tuple. Now I'm going to work it on the tuple side. So I can use it directly, the names to get it, keys I can use it. Or values I can use it. I'm getting that like values or the keys by using these functions. But now items is returning that, yeah, so dictionary.items is returning that each item of the dictionary in the format of the tuple. But from the tuple, I need to get it these values. How do we get it? From the tuple, how do you get it? The item. How do we read that item from the tuple? We can use it index number, right? 0 or 1. Are you getting the point of it? How do we read the items from the tuple? Yeah, see this, we are getting that, yes, this is the tuple item, and A is that the first, and 20,000 is the second. Like that, it is iterating that each item we are getting that. From that item, I am reading that all the, suppose if I comment this line, then I will get it, yes, A and A salary, B and B salary, C and C salary, D and D salary. Are you clear about these points? Work with the more collection objects. If you like to become that, the more strong on this, like a Python, the next libraries, whatever we are going to talk it, that all the libraries, they internally uses that, the list, tuple, dictionaries. If you are good understanding that, getting off all these items or updating or CRUD operations, whatever we are talking that, if you are good with those CRUD operations, then more practice and more understanding is required. Okay, now this is one approach, but the Python is having the beauty of it is you can use it. Okay, this is one approach. I'm just commenting that for about your reference. All the different examples which are trying to understand that. Okay, so now instead of using this item and from that item index numbers like a 0, 1, instead of using that, what we can do is we know that from the dictionary always will be having the two items only, right? From the dictionary always will be having the two items. Now I can use it key, comma, value. We can read like this directly from the tuple. So here items, items it is going to return that? If I try to print it. So normally what is the item is going to try to printing that? But item we don't have anything. So item actually what it is going to print tuple, right? Tuple is having that how many items? Two items. First item is key. Second item is value. Now I can use it to print this. The key and value. The beauty of this, the Python, these are all the things. Now we got the same output. Yeah, so here we are using that index numbers. So first we are getting the tuple and from the tuple we are indexing that. But what is like a for loop, what it is mechanism it is having is whatever it is returning that is unpacking also, unpacking that tuple, whatever it is returning that is unpacking first value of the tuple. So let me bring this to the down to understand easily. So it is going to return that A and salary. Okay, so whenever the tuple, I mean, that's like a for loop iterator, whenever it is returning that, as we have defined that the two variables here, I didn't define that only one variable. If I define that only one variable, then that entire tuple is going to assign to that variable. But here I have defined the two variables. That means, so what I'm asking that the for loop is, whatever the tuple you are returning that, unpack it. Unpack the tuple. First one assigned to this variable, second one assigned to this variable. That is, we are instructing that. Now here we are taking that entire tuple and from that tuple using that index, we are trying to get that values. But we have one more approach. Instead of using that one variable, so you can unpack that whatever the value we are getting that. So here, what is the value we are getting? The tuple. The tuple is having that two elements always, right? Two items always. So first item is a key. Yes, we know that. Yes, that's assigned that. Or you can give that name. And this one is salary. Yeah, now you you can use it these variables within about your print. Sorry, for loop. This is also valid. Are you clear about this section? If I define that only one variable, so internally, if you'd like to understand this functionality, let me implement it. So what it is, item, it is going to return that. Okay, let me comment this for about your reference. So actually what it is doing internally is, just understand that also. So first, it is going to return that item and the name equal to item of 0 and sal equal to item of 1. This is also same, right? Yes or no? So internally, if I just define like this name comma salary, so this functionality is automatically done. So this assignment has already done, and now it is assigning that item of the 0 to this variable, item of 1 it is going to assign to this variable. Now these variables, you can use it within the for loop. This is actually internal, the point. Are you clear this? Is it interesting? I mean, if you are more into that, like interpreter now, code generation later, we can talk it like how do you get that sample code? That's not the big deal. We have the AI tools like ChatGPT, which you can use it and you can generate a code. But once the code has been generated, how you're going to understanding that, that is important. And if you'd like to face the interview, yes, you should know that the course techniques. I mean, that is all these techniques. So even this, suppose if I take this one, this example, in one another notation also we can define it. Another notation is simple. Anyway, that is a tuple, right? Yes, you can use it, this notation also. So the item is returning that, the tuple, and the 0th index number it is going to assign to this one, and the first index number it is going to assign to this variable. That is also fine. Yeah. Suppose now the point is, okay, let me, now so far we are using that here, dictionary. Can I convert this one into that the list? Suppose what I do is, I would like to convert this one into the list. Yes, this is the list. But in the list, I have the items. This is one item, but I would like to define this one as a tuple. Yeah, so this is one item, right? Yes or no? But instead of using the colon, tuple is going to use the comma. This is another tuple. This is another tuple. Yeah, so this is another tuple. Now we'll get the same value or not? If I run this, what's going to happen that? If I run this program, what's going to happen that? It returns error. Yes, obviously. Why? We don't have any items function in the list. Now it is a list. It is not the dictionary. But is it a list is having that items function? No, we don't have. That's why it is throwing that error. Anyway, whenever I use the list, this is the first item, it is going to return that. And this is the second item, it is going to return that. This is the third item. And we are catching that tuple. Yes, first item assigning to this name, second item assigning to this salary, and a name and salary, we are trying to print it. Output is the same. Yes, you see that? The same output. From the dictionary, here we are getting that the item, which is in the format of that, the tuple, and the tuple, what all the items we have, that items we are trying to assign to the variables, and these variables we are using that. But same way as we are understanding that, yes, list can contain that items. That item could be any data type. Either that could be integer, it could be string, or it could be tuple, or it could be dictionary. We are understanding all those points. Now I just kept that in this list about the tuple, about that employee name and employee salary. Yes, I'm trying to getting about that the first tuple from the list, and that tuple, what are the items we have, that items we are assigning to these variables, and we are trying to printing that. Is it clear? or understand these points? How do you work with that collection of objects in the iterations? That is the main point. Still, we are trying to understand the for loop. Type that CLR in the chat window if you understand these points. Suppose here if I add that the employee information with the age also. Suppose he's under something 25 years and he's under something, yes, 30 and his age is something 35. Now tuple, how many items it is contained? Now tuple, how many items it contains? List of how many items? List of how many items? Yeah, list is the 4 items. And each item is the tuple in the list. And each tuple is have the 3 items. Good, right? Now, if I run this, what's going to happen? Before it was 2 items. Yes, 2 items we have taken and we are using that. But now the tuple is, that's within the list tuple is have the 3 items. Now, if I use it, is it going to work this one or not? How the interpreter is going to behave here? Need to mention users dot items. Why? Users is here the list, right? This is not the dictionary. That is not required. Good. We need to add name, salary, and age. Yes. Then you can print the age. But actually, if I run this one, tuple actually returning the 3 items, but you are going to define that only 2 items of the tuple. But tuple is returning the 3 items. Yes, too many values to unpack. Yes, it is trying to unpack the tuple. But tuple is have the 3 items, but you have defined that only 2 items. So what I need to do? I need to define one more variable here. Sorry. One more variable, that is age. Yes, third one which is catching that. That is also we are going to assigning to these variables. Now I can use it, print of age. Yes, we got it now. This is the first, the second employee, third employee, fourth employee. Are you clear about this point? Suppose if I added one more item in the mid, something like department. But the remaining 3 tuples are having that only 3 items, but this tuple is having the 4 items. But about your iterator is going to catch that in the first item, the first the tuple 3 items it is going to return that, but second one it is returning the 4, but you are going to unpack that only 3, it throws error, right? Let's see this what's going to happen that. Yeah, we got it the first one, you see that? Because the first item of this list is returning the 3, then we got it that those 3 items and we are trying to use that. But whenever it is trying to unpack the second one, this one we say that unpacking. Yeah, so second item whenever it is unpacking, that is this one assigning to this variable, salary is assigned to this variable, age is assigned to this variable, but to which variable it has to be assigned the department? There is no variable is defined. That's what he's saying, that too many values to unpack it. Yes, too many values we have thus in this tuple. That's why it is not able to unpack it. So when can we use this unpacking directly is if all the items in this list, yes, all the items in that list with the tuple are the same, then we can use it to this notation. Or otherwise you need to catch it at the tuple and you need to use that index number to get it the properly. Are you good with this? Are you following all these points? Type that if you have a good understanding. Yeah, try to take these examples and try to practice it once the class is over. Don't try to use the file directly. Try to take it that line by line and try to type it and use the different scenarios and try to work with that. Yeah, so good. So that is some points which we have, and let's talk it that. The next we have the break and continue statements and with the while loops. So we have some more concepts anyway. We'll continue that tomorrow. That is required anyway. One more class on this for loops and while loops iteration side. Yeah, the tomorrow we'll continue with the remaining. But today what we understand is the main for loop working with the list, working with the tuple, working with the dictionary, working with the string. Yeah, if it is the tuple or the list, you can directly use that, the for loop, to get that list of all the items. It is just returning that list of all the items and you can use those items and you can try to use it within the for loop. And even if you work with the string also, string is a sequence of the characters. That is also list internally, but characters. Yeah, directly you can apply that string and string is going to return that each item, the character of it. Then you can use that character within the for loop. Then dictionary wise, yes, by default it is going to return the key. Yeah, if I use in the dictionary name, by default it is going to return the key. But if you need that entire item, yes, each item, then you can use that items function. Or if you need that only values, that is about the salaries, then you can use the values function. Or if you need that only keys, then you can use the keys function. Yeah, but whenever you are using that items, yes, this item is going to return that as a tuple. So tuple, yes, obviously dictionary is nothing but key and value. That means the tuple, whatever it is returning, it is going to have always two items only. Then those two items you can read it by using that. I mean, you can unpack it, each item, by assigning to these variables. So you don't need to use it index numbers first to get that item and then using that index number not required. Directly, you can unpack the tuple or item which is returning. So you can unpack and assign the values to the variables. And these variables, you can use it in the for loop. And one more important point, yes, you can define the list like this, which contain the tuple. And if the tuple contains the same items, yes, then you can use it like this approach. As we're talking this approach, yes, you can try to unpack that, the internal collections also. Or if the different items, then you need to read that item. And on that item, you can use the index numbers to get the values. So this is about understanding that on the collection objects, how do we work with that iterations? But tomorrow we'll talk about that while loops and some kind of, yes, the range values if you would like to define it, some functions we have. enumerate is one more function. So some more options are available. We'll try to understand that on the iterations itself tomorrow also. Are you clear about this point? Any queries, questions, please let me know. Is it clear? Previous data types, whatever we are understanding, now we are applying to the iterations. But before we were using that read operation, only particular item, how do we read it? But now today we are understanding list of all the items, how do we read it? Either it is a string or list or dictionary or tuple. Is it good now? Type the good if you are good to understand all these points. Okay, thank you all. So that's all from my side for today. So we'll meet tomorrow and we'll talk at some more points on this iterations. Iterations, and yesterday and a day before yesterday we are understanding control flow, that is about if-else blocks. If-else blocks with operators we are understanding, that is about operations. Yes, condition-based operations, how do you define it? That is on yeah, logical operators, relational operators, not, and, or, equals, not equals, less than, greater than. Yeah, tomorrow we'll apply that some more conditions within the for loop or if loop. Yes, you can apply that conditions as well as we'll see some examples on it. Yeah, thank you all. So that's all from my side. We'll meet tomorrow.